Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Andrew Yang and segment influencers and how segment influencers are a major problem that we need to address right away, and that he's going to need to apply a solution to. I have 3 solutions to the segment influencer problem. Let's get into it. All right, so what are segment influencers? Why are they a problem? What's the solution to the problem? All right, so there are 5 types of segment influencers. So actually, before I even get into the types, let me explain what they are. Segment influencers are people, specific people who control blocks of votes, okay? There are a lot of these, right? Now, there's certainly a lot less than there are voters, right? But these are people who control blocks of votes. Those blocks might be as small as 5 people. They might be as big as 5 million people, okay? I don't think it goes any smaller than that. I don't think it goes any larger than that nowadays, okay? So let's talk about this, all right? And but these segment influencers are really important. Also, as I give you the types, it's going to be more clear exactly who I'm talking about, okay? All right, so let's do this. Let me give you the 5 types. I got a mnemonic so I can hit all 5. Aunt Harriet's medium does sacred labor. All right, Aunt, familial segment influencers. All right, let me give you an example. All right, so this is a pretty typical American family. All right, you have a mom, a dad, they're married, right? Maybe there's some parts of this that aren't like, this isn't like a completely balanced demographic. This is just an example, okay? So let's say there's a mom and a dad, and they're married, and they have a daughter and a son, okay? The daughter's 20 years old and is in college, and the son is 16, all right? So here's the breakdown of the family and how they vote, okay? So the mom is very politically active. She's a political agent. She has political agency. She does her own research, and she decides who she's going to vote for, okay? Her husband is a political non-entity. He couldn't give 2 ferret farts who wins the election. He does not care about politics, right? And so he's like, hey, when's the next game on, right? That's what he cares about, right? So, so here's the thing, right? All right. Husband doesn't care. Wife's politically engaged. She's a political agent, right? She has political agency. The daughter is politically interested, but she's away at college. And you know what? Forms aren't cool. And it's a pain in the butt to figure out how to vote when you're at college, 3 hours away from your home, right? So the daughter isn't voting. The 16-year-old isn't voting. And I'll tell you right now, I definitely think that's a lot, that right there, like getting college kids to vote when they're away from home. That's a huge barrier. You have no idea how large that is, and many simply won't vote. You know what I mean? And then you have the wife, and then you have her husband, right? This wife is a familial segment influencer, right? She, when it gets close to the campaign, she'll have a conversation with her husband and say, who do you think you're going to vote for? And he's just going to kick back, most likely, whatever name she's been talking about for the last, 6, 12, 18 months. And he loves her, and he trusts her, and he knows that she's way more informed than him, and he's going to cast his vote the way she casts her vote. She won't even have to ask, right? She is a familial segment influencer, right? And in some families, you might catch 2, 3, maybe as like in a huge family, you might be, one familial segment influencer could control 5 votes, right? All right, by the way, some segment influencers aren't even aware they're segment influencers, and some segment influencers are hyper aware that they're segment influencers. Let's give the next one, heritage, right? All right, so any state America, right? And we're gonna say Sally Tally, right? And that's just an example name, right? But Sally, her grandparents came to this country, and they came from the old family. They came from the old country. I ain't even going to say what old country, right? But when they came in through the old country, guess what happened, right? I can tell you what happened. They got, and this was decades ago, like 2 generations ago, they got connected with a political machine. There are political machines, there have been, I think there's less political machines today than ever. But, in the early 19th century, late 19th century, there was political machines in almost every city in America, right? And when people would come in from the old country, whatever, and that could be, 25 different countries, right? They would connect them to the political machine, and they would help those people who would come over here from other countries, and then at that point they would just say, hey, it'd be awesome if you'd vote XYZ, right? And actually, it would almost never be that direct. There wouldn't be a situation where like you should vote for this person. They would just make it tacitly, tacitly obvious who they should vote for. And these people, they're saying, hey, I'd like to vote for my own person, but I owe these people, right? And this is one small thing I can do, right? Now, even though that political machine isn't even up and running, right? The tradition of tradition of family after family after family after family, a heritage, right? There could be heritage voting. So, and there could be people in the family, right, who they could affect literally 10, 20, 30 families because of their heritage, right? So that is a heritage segment influencer, right? And by the way, I'm not attaching any type of malice to this. There's no malice in it, right? There are people like, we'll get there. Yeah. All right. There's no malice. I don't think there's any malice attached to these, right? They're not trying to sway elections in some mustache twirling, villainous way. This is just human nature, right? People trust people. That is a very real thing, right? And a lot of times there's so many decisions to be made. You don't want to make your own decisions on everything. You just trust somebody, right? On technology, I trust Google. Man, whatever Google's doing, I follow them, right? Like, they are smarter than me on a lot of tech stuff. Not everything, but a lot, right? All right. I follow Sundar Pichai. Yeah, that's a good one, right? Okay. All right. So you have familial segment influencers. You have heritage segment influencers. And then media. There are media segment influencers, right? Fox News. There you go. That there are people on Fox News who are media segment influencers, and they are swaying low millions of people to vote one way or another. Guess what? Me, J. Scott Garibay. I am a media segment influencer, right? I might only control, and I'm not controlling them directly. I'm not asking anybody, right? But if somebody listened to all of my, my videos, I might control as many as 5 votes when the voting comes, right? Because people are like, hey, I learned a lot about Andrew Yang. Got a little entertainment from the mix, and and yeah, let's do it, right? So I am a media segment influencer, right? All right. The next one is sacred labor. All right. So all over the country, some people like to have assistance, right, in getting better benefits, better pay, right? And there are groups that can help you do that, right? Those groups are very often, there's quite a big history of this, of labor being individuals who are connected to labor being segment influencers, right? Very, very powerful segment influencers, right? And they're going to sway votes one way or another, right? All right, the last one is sacred, right? There are people in this, everybody in America believes one of two things. They believe there are sacred things, or they believe there are no sacred things, right? I believe there are sacred things, right? Sacred, there are buildings where you can go if you're really interested in sacred things. Most people go to them on Sundays, right? Sacred leaders, right? Leaders who teach people about sacred things, they are segment influencers, right? So here's the thing. These segment influencers I don't think we've really thought about this as deeply as we should have to this point, and as deeply as we can. And I think there's a huge opportunity in thinking carefully about segment influencers, right? Because and I've been guilty of this, right? I've been thinking, okay, hey, how do I reach as many individual people as I can? And how do I convince them to vote for Andrew Yang, right? But there are segment influencers where there are a whole bunch of people who you're never going to reach them, right? They're never going to watch one of these videos. They're never going to watch one of the debates, right? They will just vote according to their segment influencers' indication. It won't be a direct request, right? It'll just be an indication. It'll be subtle clues, right, that these people will do, and based on their goodwill that they've attached to those segment influencers, they will vote the way that the segment influencers have been indicating they will vote, right? This is a big, big, big problem for Andrew Yang, right? And the reason why is I'm not convinced these segment influencers at all are backing Andrew Yang in mass, right? Another problem with segment influencers is I think this is one of the huge problems with polls, right? Segment influencers can absolutely wreck polls. They can just destroy polls, right? Utterly destroy polls. So it's definitely a thing, right? All right, so Andrew Yang so how do we deal with this, right? So one, do we break the connection between the segment influencers and and the individual voter? Do we work on that, right? That might not be a good idea. Like, the husband and the wife, right? That's not even I'm not sure that's even a bad thing. If that dude doesn't give two ferret farts for who's going to be president, why shouldn't he vote the way his wife is indicating? He loves her, right? I don't think there's any harm in that, right? All right, so I think that's an interesting one, right? And that might indicate that it might be a bad idea to try to break these segment influencers' connection to controlling big pools of votes, right? So that might not be a good idea. So what are three things we can do? So one, I think one thing that Andrew Yang can do right away is to pick up this mantra: look for yourself, decide for yourself. Look for yourself, decide for yourself, right? Look for yourself, decide for yourself, right? I think you should really start saying this. And the reason why is we want people to be independent voters. Say, listen, this is a special point in time in history, right? And we really need people to get involved, right? Look for yourself, decide for yourself. Giving them a chance to break off from the segment influencers and make their own decision. I'm convinced that if you took 10 voters, right, and they were in their random pooling, right, that some of them are political agents, some of them are political wonks, some of them are politically uninterested, right? Some of them are politically disinterested, right? And the politically disinterested are most likely going to vote the way their segment influencers have indicated they should. I don't think Andrew Yang wins like that. He needs people to look at him, right? He is very unusual. He is unique, right? He's an albino raven, man. Like, ain't nothing like him in the world, right? And so, so we really need people to, if they're going to vote for Yang, they got to decide on their own, right? So look for yourself, decide for yourself, right? So one, carry that banner now, right? Two, all right, let's get into it. Dog whistle. I love dog whistling, right? So the reason why is, to me, it's a tool, right? So one, you cannot break the law and you cannot hurt people, right? That's the law pain rule, right? So one, dog whistling does not break the law, right? There's dog whistling done every day. Like, it's a communication tool, period. Dog whistling does hurt people, right? So why would I say that we should use it? Well, frankly is it hurts people in both directions, right? In my opinion, it's a tool. It's like a wrench, right? You can hit somebody over the head with a wrench. That doesn't mean that a wrench is a bad tool, right? Now, absolutely, without a doubt, dog whistling has been used for absolutely horrendous things in history, right? But, we're on, like, I feel safe saying this here because people who love Andrew Yang like counterintuitive thought. They like, patterns and trends. They like doing things based on data. And it's just a fact. Dog whistling is just a tool. That's one of the reasons why I'm not really against gerrymandering, right? It's a tool, right? The Democrats can do it. The Republicans do it. Instead of whining about it, get good. Do it, right? Get good at it, right? So same thing, dog whistling. I think we should really start to think about, is there ways that we can use dog whistling to encourage people to vote on their own rather than voting with their segment influencers, right? And this is a powerful one, and we can do this now because Andrew Yang's got money and he's got a lot of staff, right? And he's got enough staff sitting around to figure out some serious, smart, like wicked cool dog whistling tactics, right? The next one is proxy speakers, right? We're getting late in the game, man, and politics is it's a deep game, and there's some unusual stuff that happens, right? So I think Yang, again, he's got staff at this point, right? And I think there are things that need to be said at certain times to offset things that are coming out of the media, which is incredibly unfair to Yang, right? So if he needs a message carried, I think he should have a network of proxy speakers, people that they can, and again, a lot of this is not going to be said out loud. It's not going to be said directly, right? If Yang needs a message carried, he should say, I think XYZ, right? And then somebody on his staff is going to go, okay, I need to put this into a little even less subtler messaging, get this to our proxy speakers and have them say this message at this time through this venue, right? So those are my 3 solutions. However, I want to say this, right? I don't bring problems without solutions. I hate doing that. I do it every now and then. I fail as a human being, and I do it, but I didn't fail this time. But I will say this right now. I'm not positive that I got this one nailed down. I think this is a really, really, really tough problem. I think Andrew Yang needs to start seriously thinking about this, right, and how to solve this problem. I'm very hopeful because I know he's smarter than me, and I know he has smart people on his team, right? And I know you guys are smart out there too. So right now, I'm going to ask you, what do you think is the best path to deal with this segment influencer problem? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.